Welcome to Sufficiently Black, the podcast that explores what it means to be comfortable in your blackness. I'm one of your hosts, Kia, and I'm here with... You're on mute, ho! Sorry, Amari.
Oh my god, how long have we been doing this for?
I'm sorry. I forget that it's based off a segment. I'm after Kia. Sorry.
Oh, God.
Well, you're also here with Janae.
You're here with Kia, Amari, and Janae. God damn it. Okay.
Yeah.
Some things never change.
Guys, I mean, this podcast is free. Social media is free. Give us a follow, a like, a share. Tell someone about this podcast. You know, do all the free things. We're on Instagram and Twitter, Sufficiently Be Okay. We got a Discord. Talk to us there. You know what I'm saying? Okay, guys. We have one of my bestest friends on the podcast. I'm really excited about it. Her name is Bukola Ayodele. You've probably heard of her. She's a New York City-based tech worker and content creator. She's worked in the tech industry for over 5 years, 3 years as a software engineer at a fintech startup, and now she works as a developer advocate at Google. Bukola also creates content on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, where she has amassed 300K subscribers across all three platforms. She shares content on building a career in tech and personal finance. She creates videos providing a realistic experience about what it's like working in tech and helpful tips for those looking to build a career in tech. Bukola is also extremely passionate about personal finance education, so she creates content teaching her audience how to budget, save money, and invest. Bukola, welcome to Sufficiently Black.
Hey, I'm so happy to be here. I'm really excited for this podcast. I think this is like the second podcast I've ever done, so this is going to be really cool.
But this one's better. Yay.
Yes. And please remove anytime I say like. I'm going to make sure not to say it, but please make me look good.
I will make sure you look good, even though I also love how you said she creates videos providing a realistic experience. I feel like that was low-key shady.
Yeah, no, I don't know if you guys watch a lot of the day in the lives on TikTok. Sometimes it can be a little unrealistic because people tend to focus on like the free food and all the perks, but I try to show like all aspects of working in tech, the good and the bad, on my channel. So I try to make it as realistic as possible, but I still think that everyone is going to have their own different experiences in tech. Some people do have a more glamorous, chill tech job. Some people do have to work long hours, but I just share what it's been like for me. So, yeah.
Well, I think that's like good, especially since a lot of people's complaints about social media in general is that it's just not an accurate portrayal of people's lives and what it is, and it's like the highlight reel. So I think it's good that you show all sides of your work experience.
Yeah, but I mean, I also understand creators who only want to share the good side, because when you're vulnerable, in your content, people end up sometimes using that against you. Mm-hmm. So I understand sometimes creators just want to show the best parts and keep the private life private. But it would be great if we could just show all aspects of our lives. So yeah.
So what's a day in the life of Bukola? What's the real version?
Honestly, it's not really that exciting. I'm just working from home. Just drinking coffee, working from home, looking at my computer for 6+ hours, because a lot of my job is writing code sometimes, but mostly writing scripts, discussing technical topics on blog posts, podcasts, video forums. So a lot of the time I'm scripting. Sometimes I'm filming, not only for my day job, but also for my content creation job too. So honestly, it's not that exciting. I usually am just home, but I love it. I love just being at home.
But what do you do after work in the weekends?
Oh my God.
I'm gonna make you say something exciting.
Honestly, I feel like I don't really have... Content creation is my main hobby. So when people ask me what are you doing outside of that, I'm honestly, really nothing. Maybe it's maybe it's playing Sudoku or playing games on my phone or hanging out with friends, maybe reading, but I don't have any huge hobbies outside of content creation, because content creation is so time consuming. To even create a YouTube video takes so many hours, more hours than you'd even imagine. So you guys know this as people who create podcasts and everything, how much of a commitment it can be. So for me, it's content creation is my main hobby that I do.
I 100% understand that. I make
Yeah.
TikToks now for work. And
Oh,
you
okay.
think, like, today, Friday is International Nacho Day. And me and Kia actually went, like, on a nacho crawl earlier this
Oh,
week.
that's so cool.
And we decided originally it was going to be a review video, but then I told my coworkers, like, the nachos were not really good. And I don't necessarily want to, like, shit on all of these nacho places. So we just ended up using a trending sound and video clips. And I was like, okay, this will be easy. Then I found
Yeah.
this sound that had like, that was techno and had like specific beats. And I was like, I've got to line the clips up with the beats. 3 hours later,
Yeah.
3 hours
The
later.
editing. Yeah,
It's a
even
lot.
like it's a lot. Even like a short, like, TikTok video that can be like maybe 1 minute is still like a lot of like intention, scripting, planning, and then editing, which is for me always the longest part of
Yeah.
the content creation process. So yeah, fortunately I don't have any hobbies except for content creation, but
But
that's fine
let's
by
go,
me.
let's go back to your job in tech though. Like, how did
Yeah.
you get started in that?
Yeah, so my journey to tech has been like really interesting, and I've shared it a lot on my channel, just because like that's what a lot of people, subscribe to me for, is to get advice on career stuff. So yeah, like I actually took my first computer science course in high school, kind of like my senior year. I was just like, oh, let me just take this course because I see a lot of my friends taking it, and whatever, I'll just take it. And it ended up being my favorite course in like all of high school. So in college, I was considering potentially majoring in computer science, but I was also thinking that, the only path to have financial stability was becoming a lawyer or becoming a doctor, because that's all I'd known. I didn't know any software engineers. I literally thought people who worked in tech just fixed computers. A lot of people don't know what goes into having a tech job. So yeah, in college, I thought about doing computer science, ultimately decided to do pre-med, failed that. I don't like science at all, decided to do pre-law. And then when I got my first job, working out of college, which was a job that was with a lot of lawyers, it was compliance consulting, talking to those lawyers, all they could keep saying was that they hated working in law. They were like, they had so much debt, they just felt like it wasn't as fulfilling as they thought it would be, and they wish they'd done something else. So then I had to like kind of think back on like what were my interests, like do more research about different career paths, and then I found that maybe software engineering would be a good fit for me based on the couple of classes I took in undergrad, and just hearing more about the tech industry and educating myself on the tech industry. And yeah, so I decided after that, you know what, I'm going to quit my job, which was really risky at the time because I'd had like 9 months of experience. I didn't have that much money, but I took the risk. I quit my job, took my little savings, applied to this program called the Recurse Center, which is like a self-directed boot camp where you kind of teach yourself as much as possible. And from there, I did that for like 3 months. Then I spent 3 months applying to jobs, and then finally got a job, I think almost 9 months after quitting my job. And now, like 5 years later, like taking that risk has been the best decision of my life. So yeah, I'm really excited to be working in the tech industry.
I'm really glad that you pointed out that that wasn't necessarily what you studied in school, because I feel like people have this idea that if you didn't do it in undergrad, there's no way to get into it. And I remember I was at a company retreat with one of our engineers, and he was like, I just taught myself this work like on the side when I
Yeah.
had another job. And he was like, it was one of the smartest things I ever did.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's
Wait,
cool.
Bukola, how many times did you change your major? Because I swear to God, every time
Oh
I
my
talk to
God.
Bukola in college, she's like, actually, I'm a sociology major. Actually, I'm a
Yeah.
law major. Actually, I'm going to science. I'm like, what are you? What are you doing here?
I know. Literally, it's just because like I had a problem where I liked a lot of different things. Like a lot of different things were exciting to me, but I also wanted to think about like my like financial future, making sure I was financially stable because I didn't have my parents to fall back on, like once I graduated from school. So it was just really hard to decide when you're 18 years old to think about like what can I study for the rest of my life. And I feel like a lot of the things I was considering, like I should have just done more research. But yeah, I switched like my major so many times. Like it wasn't until junior year when I only had a couple semesters left until graduating was I like, okay, I'm going to do political science. Like that's it. And that's because it had the lowest like amount of classes to take to get the major. So yeah.
Do you think that tech as a field Black people should pursue?
100%. Like it's really sad, but like I think Blacks, what do you call it? The amount of like Black women software engineers is about like 1%, which is crazy at a lot of these top tech companies. So Black people are like a huge, like we're so underrepresented in tech, and it's so sad because I feel like the tech career can be a really lucrative career. So like one of the things I think reason why Black people should pursue a career in tech is, first of all, the financial aspect. You know, Black people, we don't really have a lot of money in this country. I think I saw that our average wealth as of 2022 is like $14,000 for a Black family, which is like super low. It's really sad, and it's also decreasing every year. And of course, like, you know, we need systemic changes and different policy changes like reparations, but as individuals we could also think about like how can we make sure that we're going to be good financially. And one of the ways to be financially good is like choosing a career path that's known to be financially stable. So that's one reason why I think people should really consider a career in tech. Another reason too is just the impact of tech. We know, like, we all use social media. We see how social media can really impact politics, but a lot of these people writing the algorithms are white people. So they end up creating like these like algorithms that are so racist, that really disenfranchise us, that like push, like they think about like the Cambridge Analytica situation where you have these white engineers that aren't thinking about like, oh, let's just monitor and make sure that we're not spreading all these false racist information and like radicalizing people. So yeah, I think Black people, if we could be involved in building these algorithms and being like having a seat at the table to influence how these tech companies have policies, it can really impact society for the better. So I think the impact and the financial aspects are really important. Yeah. And also I feel like having a tech career can be really fun. So for some people, like they might really, you know, enjoy, you know, programming, and they might not even know it. So yeah.
I'm really curious about some of the cons of being a Black person in tech.
Yeah, because there's so many cons, honestly. Because like we're just such a small group. First of all, you just tend to feel very lonely. I've had like I think Kia knows all my experiences. I'm not going to name any companies. She knows all my crazy experiences that I've had. Because, you know, you're the only one, and a lot of people might not have a lot of exposure to working with other Black women. So they'll say some things that are really crazy, and you might not always get invited for like team bonding activities. So you tend to feel like very lonely and isolated working in this industry. And then of course you have imposter syndrome because you're different. You know, you tend to feel like, oh my God, maybe I'm dumb, because a lot of people, oh my gosh, one of the things that really irks me is whenever I post content about working in tech, people always say, oh, you're a diversity hire. You're a diversity hire, without knowing any information about my background. And that adds to your imposter syndrome, because if everyone's telling you like, oh, you don't know anything, you tend to believe that, oh, I don't know anything, you know? So that's another thing. Of course, like racism and sexism is rampant in the tech industry. Like there have been so many cases of like these tech companies paying women way less than they pay men. I know that certain companies have had to like pay out people because they were found to pay women less. Of course, like sexual assaults. I don't know if can I say that word? Okay. I don't know if I can can't say certain words. Yeah. Sexual assault has happened to a lot of people, a lot of women in this industry, because it's mostly like male dominated. So there are a lot of cons to consider before entering this industry. But what I will say is like any industry that's male dominated and can make a lot of money is going to have a lot of these cons, you know, like think about law and you know, medicine. It's also going to have huge cons that you have to consider. I don't think it should totally remove you from considering a career in tech, but it's something you have to consider, you know, before entering.
Yeah, I can totally agree with that, because actually I'm not sure if media is male dominated. I know it used to be, but nowadays I feel like I look around newsrooms I've been a part of and they're very female dominated. I don't know the numbers on it, but a lot of the same issues that you mentioned, I know all of us in our career have run up against. I mean, even when Kia and I worked at Vice, we got paid because Vice had a settlement because they weren't paying their female employees as much as they were paying their male employees. So we all ended up with a few thousand extra dollars one year, you know? So a lot of the things that you're talking about, I feel like women have to go through in general.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, there's really no cure for that. And even if it is a female dominated industry, like I feel like PR is, but even that working in PR, there was still like a lot of men were at the top. And so yes, it's female dominated, but they're at the bottom. So you're still dealing
Yeah,
with like,
that's
that shit at the top. So I will say that.
yeah. And what's so crazy is that like with software engineering, like programming specifically, it was a female dominated industry. Like in I think was it the 50s, like during, or even like earlier than that, during World War II, mostly women were doing the programming, and software was seen as more of like the feminine career. But then it's just like a more recent change in the 70s, 80s, and 90s where it's becoming more male dominated. And it's crazy because I think I saw like a statistic that like even right now, like majors like physics and math have like 50-50 women and men, but computer science still has like a very low female or women graduates. So I'll double check that stats before you guys put it in the thing. But I think it's just so interesting why, like, I don't know, it's just a crazy like change, you know?
Yeah,
So,
it's funny because I was actually talking to a coworker because we were just talking about how women approach applying for jobs versus men, and it's like if a woman sees that they don't have like one of the like qualities in a job description, she won't apply, and a man will apply even if he has like none of it. Yeah, so I think it's just like the whole like we take ourselves out of the equation before like we even give ourselves the opportunity. So we had a few repeat questions on Instagram for you, so people are really into these two main ones. I broke them down. So one is, how do I get to where you are? And was it worth the money if you had to like you were talking about like investing in these programs or stuff? Do you feel it? I mean, you kind of said it. Yeah. But do you feel like it was worth it?
Yeah, I would totally I would totally even invest more than I did initially. I would have gotten like a CS degree because I do think it's like one of the few majors that can really give you a good return depending on the location you're in, because I know there's actually a lot of pay discrepancy between like New York, SF, and other cities around the US for paying the pay for software engineers. But yeah, I definitely feel like the amount I put in, I got even way more out of it. Yeah.
Hopefully that's encouraging for that follower. And then another one was, what's your most important piece of advice for someone just starting and breaking into the industry?
Yeah, I think one mistake I made was I was trying to do things very quickly because I had a very like tight deadline with how much money I had. I would have taken my time. Like, don't sleep on like if you already have a degree, don't sleep on going back to school to get like your master's, which can take like 1 to 2 years for computer science, or doing a post-bac degree. Definitely don't sleep on going back to school because I feel like there are great schools that are on the cheaper end that can help you gain the knowledge that you need to have a successful career in tech. Also, the really cool thing about tech too is that there are a lot of apprenticeships where they'll take people who don't have degrees and they'll train them and then give them 6-figure jobs after they graduate from these apprenticeships. And these apprenticeships are also paid too. So I think that can also be a cool thing to check out when you're deciding to, transition into a career in tech.
Thanks so much for tuning into this week's episode. You can talk to us on social media at sufficientlyblk. You can email us at sufficientlyblackpodcast@gmail.com with any questions or feedback. And you can listen to us anywhere you get your podcast. Please do not forget to follow us so you don't miss any new episodes. Until next time, bye.